At one point, this company was America's largest corporation. 10 years ago, they grossed over $467 billion. But should you invest in them now, especially with what has happened this year? What's up, Musketeers? It's your commander here, and in today's video, we are going to be going over America's largest oil and gas company. It's none other than Exxon Mobil. We will be going over their current stock price on the New York Stock Exchange, their past performance over the last 40 years, and just how much can their dividends pay you on a yearly basis. Also, since this is a longer term stock investment, we will be going over Exxon Mobil as far as their articles in the news and what are their plans for the future. Are they going to focus on oil and gas production, or are they going to go along with the entire energy transition and actually diversify, going into things like wind energy or hydrogen production? You know, all those other forms of energy that a lot of major oil companies are looking to invest into. And by the end of this video, I'll actually show you how Exxon Mobil can become America's largest company by revenue once again. Alright, Musketeers, so let's begin by looking at the stocks on the New York Stock Exchange. Alright, Musketeers, so here we have Exxon Mobil Corporation on the New York Stock Exchange, XOM, and today's price is $41. And let's look at the price over the entire period. This stock has been around for about 40 years. Started off at $4.30 and it came all the way up as high as $101.60, and now it's come down, crashed down to around $41. So we can actually see here that around this area here, around that $40 area, is a very interesting area. That's why I do think that this stock more than likely is gonna go up in the future. We can also see here that with today's price, if you actually add it to your Roth IRA, of course that's, you know, your choice, but it does have the potential to double in the coming 10 to 15 years, I'd say. Alright, Musketeers, so we just looked at Exxon Mobil on the New York Stock Exchange, and we saw that it has the potential to double in the next 5, 10, I'd say about 15 years or so. Now, in order for it to actually increase in price and for it to pay out that dividend on the annual basis, we actually have to look at its past performance and its revenue to actually make sure that this company has the ability to keep paying out that dividend and keep increasing in value in the coming years. So let's take a look at their revenue on Statista.com. So right here on Statista.com, we can actually see Exxon Mobil's revenue from 2001 to 2019. Now back in 01, we're seeing that they averaged just over $200 billion, and there was a really strong build-up, peaking at $459 billion in 2008. Of course, we knew what happened then. There was the 2008 financial crisis, came crashing down as we could see here, and then it built back up steadily all the way up to $467 billion. At this point in time, Exxon Mobil was the largest company by revenue in the United States. Then we see that it came back down very steadily. So we're seeing that the revenue never really went below $200 billion. In fact, that's probably why they actually have such a good dividend, 8.24%, sometimes maybe even higher. So that's why Exxon Mobil is such a good company. Alright, so we just looked at their revenue and their ability to pay out a dividend, and we actually saw that, you know, this company has the potential to actually pay that out consistently and also has the ability to go up to that $400 billion a year threshold, maybe even more in the coming years. Now, Exxon has a lot of different projects going on a lot of new ones as well too. In fact, it has caused a lot of disruption with respect to its international projects. Also too, in terms of this year, there has been a lot of job cuts, so let's take a look at some of the bad news first and how Exxon has been performing for 2020. So here on the not so fortunate side is actually Guyana's relationship with Exxon Mobil. The company actually invested a lot of money into a risky oil project in Guyana, and it actually is now coming to fruition. We're seeing some locals here for the country. We're actually seeing that the country has actually been in the midst of their biggest political crisis in decades. There was a huge fight over the control of this country earlier this year. Things have settled out now. Also seeing here that Exxon back earlier in the year, they notified contractors and vendors of cuts. A lot of companies had this, by the way. You can actually see here that based on Reuters, based on this unprecedented environment, we're evaluating all appropriate steps to significantly reduce capital operating expenses in the near term. So near term is a bit vague there. We can't really say how long, but I suspect, things are coming back up right now. And we're actually seeing here that Exxon is also looking at other projects, not just outside of the US, but in the US as well too. Here we have Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This is a major development here. They're going to invest more than $240 million at this refinery. They've actually been operating this refinery for more than 100 years, as we can see here, and it does produce a lot of high quality jobs within the area. Alright, Musketeers, so we just saw how Exxon has a lot of things going on, but the truth is they are having a really good response to the events of 2020. A lot of companies are actually having various job cuts, they have a lot of international issues, but that's just how it is in this industry. Oil and gas can be very competitive and very geopolitical as well too. Don't let that deter you from actually understanding these companies and understanding how you can benefit from them in the future. So now that we've taken a look at the possible bad news first, let's take a look at some of the good stuff to come and some of the achievements of Exxon Mobil for 2020. Okay, so in terms of the good news, well, we're actually seeing here that on Forbes, it is finally warming up to Exxon Mobil. It's by Jim Collins, and he basically is talking about the market now accepting Exxon as a better investment, even though, as we see here, that for some time, for the first time in 4 years, it's targeted to go up to $52. If we actually scroll down here, we're seeing that he just gives some more information, saying that it has a potential for a variable dividend, so on and so forth. The better articles are actually these here from financialtimes.com, why Exxon Mobil is sticking with oil as rivals look to a greener future. This article, I would say, is pretty good because it's actually talking about back in 2011 when Exxon had their largest revenue ever, and what happened was that they pushed globally for different countries for them to actually gain market share in. Exxon's revenue came in at $430 billion around that time, and we're also seeing here that a decade later, some of these things may not have come to fruition. But if we scroll down even more, Exxon is actually going to double down, seeing here, double down on oil and gas, plotting another huge surge in output. As rivals fret about peaking oil demand and start trying to navigate a global energy transition away from fossil fuels, seeing that here, Exxon is making a huge bet on oil's future. This is a very interesting play that Exxon is moving forward with here. And we're actually seeing here that on Business Wire, which is under Berkshire Hathaway, they actually said that and confirmed that Exxon did have a third quarter dividend. So this is actually good news considering what has happened this year and the fact that they were actually able to pay out 87 cents per share, mightn't sound like much, but the truth is the mere fact that they're paying out a dividend is a great sign. Alright, Musketeers, so we've looked at price of Exxon Mobil on the New York Stock Exchange, its past performance, and the potential it has to actually go up in terms of revenue and their dividend. And we also looked at the good and bad news of Exxon Mobil and how it actually was able to survive 2020. Now, let's take a look at Exxon as far as extra potential it has. I actually looked at their website and I saw that Exxon actually is gonna pay their CEO and pretty much everyone in their company based on their performance, and they have a really nice performance bonus structure. In fact, let's take a look at it now and you'll actually see if this can actually help Exxon become the #1 company in the United States once again. Exxon Mobil's website, you can actually go all the way down to the investor section and click on annual reports. So Exxon Mobil actually has a special compensation plan for their executive team members, the persons who are actually in charge of the company. Now this is, they got their letter to shareholders and a lot of different information, policies and so on. But if you scroll all the way down to page 5, you're actually going to see here that their performance graph, they look at like a 3, 5, and then, about an 8-year timeline to then start seeing profitability in their various projects. But what is very important here is that when you scroll all the way down, page 10, you're actually going to see here the pay for the CEO is actually majorly based on the performance of the company. So over 60% of CEO pay delivered in the form of performance shares with restriction periods of 5, 10 years and longer. So what we're seeing here is that the company compensation is gonna be totally based on the performance, and that actually goes all the way up to the CEO as well too. So not just regular employees, all the way from the bottommost person all the way up to the executive. So we're seeing here there are various amounts of money. And $18 million for, the CEO, I think that's honestly not enough. I think they can get a lot more than that, and maybe based on their performance, they just might do so. Also too, we have this part here, which is Exxon Mobil announces emission reduction plans, expects to meet 2020 goals. A lot of different news outlets are saying that Exxon is not pushing for their carbon dioxide reduction efforts, but the truth is they are. It's just not being reported as much. And we're actually seeing here that sets 2025 greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan, and this is to intensify upstream emissions to drop by 15 to 20%. These are actually really good initiatives, really good targets for that time period, and I think they'll actually exceed that as time goes along. Imagine that 60% of the compensation for the freaking CEO is based totally on performance. Now, when you have most of the compensation actually being reliant on the performance of the company, from the janitor all the way up to the CEO, the entire company is incentivized to actually perform and outperform themselves from years before. Now, I know other oil and gas companies more than likely have a similar performance structure, but honestly, Exxon is the only one that I saw that actually has it on their company website and emphasizes it for their CEO and the bonuses for the rest of their team. Now, honestly, I can't predict the future, but this looks like a really good initiative that could possibly make Exxon Mobil once again become America's largest company. So, Musketeers, based on all that we've gone through, do you actually think that Exxon Mobil is a great stock for you to invest into? Tell me in the comments below, either yes or no. Also, if you actually like learning more about oil and gas companies, their stocks, and also too how to actually save money, invest it properly, and have success in doing that, then definitely subscribe down below, or you can follow us if you're viewing this on Instagram or Facebook. Alright Musketeers, so that's it for me. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. This is your commander, signing out.